So we are in the process of building to an event that I mentioned in a previous video that I did today as well. Mainly because the building process to this event had apparently as I called it in that video, a very overused, predictable trope of the breakup quit kind of deal that we know is not going to last because that character is going to play probably an integral part in the series, and they're going to come back and they're going to be like, look, I talked to so-and-so, or I had a spiritual encounter with, so-and-so, and I've realized, look, I'm willing to give this a chance, but if this guy betrays me or does whatever or betrays us, I'm not going to hesitate to pull out his heart or something like that. Or cut out his heart or whatever. So, yeah, basically the build-up to said event has one of those moments in it. And during the video, I asked, I didn't ask, but I kind of mentioned whether or not this event even is going to have ties to the main book. And it looks like it might have some ties, but not entirely. It's kind of complicated. It's kind of complicated because it's one of those comic book arcs. It's one of those comic book arcs where you have to mainly have all the issues to really fill in the gaps. Like, not necessarily, but you do have to have all the issues. It's kind of like with Archie Comics. When Archie Comics, later on, during the, how do I put this? Later on, during the first Worlds Collide, the Worlds Collide story arc, the first Mega Man Sonic story arc, you had to have all the issues to get the whole gist. You had to have all the issues to get the whole gist of the story. Yeah, that's what you needed. You needed the main Sonic book, you needed the Mega Man book, you needed Sonic X, and you needed Sonic Universe. You needed those books to fill in the gaps, to get the whole crux, if you will, the whole crux of the story. You even had to have little filler issues as well that they would sell to fill in other details, when it came to Worlds Collide. And the same for its sequels, Worlds Unite, which, again, you had to have the main Sonic book, the Mega Man book, you had to have Universe, and you had to have Boom, Sonic Boom that is, to fill in all the gaps, to fill in all the details, as well as you also had to really, if you're into getting all that detail, really had to get the side stories, the side books known as the battle networks or something like that, the Sonic Mega Man battle issues. You had to get all that. You had to get all of that, and that's not the first time either. When Ken Penders and Carl Bolas and all of them were doing the book, and back during the build to, I think, what was it? The build to what's the word I'm looking for? What's the issue? Oh yeah, the build to 100. When the build to 100 was occurring, one of the story arcs that they focused on, they did an adaptation actually of, was Sonic Adventure. And Sonic Adventure was such a big story arc that it not only encompassed a majority of the issues for that run, but you also had to include a Sonic Super Special, 48-page special, to get the full gist of it, as well as you had to get a few, I think, Knuckles issues. I think Knuckles' comic was still going on at that time. You had to get a few Knuckles stories, as backstories and as issues to fill in the gaps. Pretty much, you had to have all of that, together, to get the real full, I guess you could say the full spectrum, the full aspect of what was going on. And again, going back to Sonic, you can even look at the pre-reboot, pre-soft retcon reboot era of Ian Flynn when he did Iron Dominion. He did Iron Dominion, and during Iron Dominion, he decided to use 4 issues of Sonic Universe entitled Journey to the East, featuring Sonic, Sally, Monkey Kong, and Tails, as an extension of that. So that way you would have to not only read the main book to get an idea of what was going on, but you would also have to read Universe to see basically what was going on with Sonic and Sally and their team in the mission over on the eastern side of Mobius. That's what you need to do. And even during the Mecha Sally arc, you had to sometimes, get Universe and all that to fill in certain gaps in which, she was involved, in which Sally, as Mecha Sally, would be involved in, outside of the main book. Because if they would mention something that happened, with the character in the main book, you wouldn't know what they're talking about unless you had Universe. So there are things like that. And, even Linkara, Louis Lovehog, at Atop the Fourth Wall, has talked about this too. Every time he's done, a big comic event for his, yearly annual comic events month, whether he does it once or twice a year, which makes it a bi-year, which makes it kind of like a bi-quarterly annual event or whatever. But basically, mainly it's a yearly event that he does, his Events Comics Month. When he does, event comics like that for that time of year, for that month, or even if he does it because someone Patreons it, he will mention the fact that, to really get the full gist, the full spectrum, the full aspect of what's going on from a storyline perspective, you need to look at all these side issues out there, all these side comics out there to get the real full gist of it. That's what you need to do. It's like, what was one of them he talked about? I think, what was it, like Secret Wars 2 is one of them he talked about. I think he talked about, what was it, the Crisis on Infinite, no, not Crisis on Infinite, but the, what was the other one? It was something with the DC heroes about a fate or something like that. Hold on, let me look it up here. Just looking it up here. So, okay, so the fandom.wiki has it. So, okay, Heroes in Crisis, House of M, Secret Empire, and I don't like these pop-ups when they happen. 0 Hour, Crisis in Time. So, basically, he's done all these for a while. And basically, it's events like Heroes in Crisis, 0 Hour, stuff like that, where he brings up the fact that instead of just having a story, where you could just, read what's going on, and maybe, let's say, have a flashback here and there, not too long, but give you an idea in the flashback as to how we got to said event. Instead, you have to go out and purchase all these different issues of different comics and everything, like Superman, or like Green Lantern, or Wonder Woman, or Justice League America, Justice League Society, stuff like that, The Flash. You had to purchase all these. Kind of like what I mentioned with the Death of Superman video I did. I mentioned that the entire spectrum of that story that went for a long time, 15 issues, it didn't just include, the traditional Superman comics that you were used to, but it also included Justice League America and Green Lantern on top of that. So you had a lot of different other comics that tied in to the story. And Linkara basically, if there's one thing that irritates him when it comes to these kind of things, is the fact that the publishers don't just focus on the event itself. They're basically telling you, hey, you want the full gist of it, go out and get this comic, go out and get this comic. Oh, we just released this limited miniseries of comics to really give you a gist. That's what gets on his nerves. That's what pisses him off. So you can only imagine, in my opinion, if he's even aware of it, in any shape or form, you can only imagine his reaction to hearing about the upcoming IDW TMNT event comic called the Armageddon game. Because basically, basically, ladies and gentlemen, you have, get this, let me see if I got this right. You have 9 issues of the main comic. You have 8 issues of Armageddon game. Okay. You have 5 issues of an Alliance tie-in comic to it. And if I'm right here, you have 2 issues of the opening moves prequel. That's what you have. So you have, like I said, you have basically, it looks like 8. Is it 8, I think? Yeah, 8 issues. 131, 132, 133, 134, 135, 136, 137, 138, 139. Yeah, you have 9 issues, I should say. You have 9 issues of the main book. 2 of the prequel to Armageddon game, which makes it 11. 5 of the Alliance tie-in during said event, which makes it 16. And then you have 8 of the Armageddon game, which makes it 24 comics in the span of almost a year. 24 comics. And apparently they're supposed to all tie in. Or do they? Do they tie in? And apparently it looks like they do tie in, because this is from Tom Waltz. This is from Tom Waltz, and you'll probably see it on the screen too. But basically, he gave a checklist for the Armageddon game. And this is why I kind of ranted a little bit about the whole Eloplex leaving, quitting the team scenario. We all know she's going to be back. Whether it's going to be in the Alliance book, whether it's going to be in the main book, whether it's going to be an Armageddon game itself, we all know she's going to be back, and she's going to basically reconcile with the Turtles, with the Splinter Clan, but maybe look at Shredder or Rokusaki and say, I got my eye on you, you betray us just once, I'm not going to hesitate to kill you, kind of deal. That's what I see happening. That's why I said in the previous video, it's predictable. Way too predictable, in my opinion. But yeah, you have a total of 24 issues. 24 issues, ladies and gentlemen, in the span of nearly a year. Nearly a year. July, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 9 months. You have 9 months. 9 out of 12 months for a whole story. But the question obviously is, what will be the outcome of this story? What will be the honest outcome of this story, when it finishes up? Like, why do this now? Why not save this? Why not save this? And I was just checking the time there. Why not save this until maybe, let's say, the final issues? Like, if the comic does come to a conclusion soon, which, depending on what reports you believe, could be in the near future, why not save this storyline event for that time? Why do it now? Why do it now? And my guess, my assumption, my guess is we're looking, and again, I could be wrong. But we're looking at a reset, is what we're looking at. Because the way the Rat King is described in this interpretation of the TMNT is he's an ancient being. He's part of a family of siblings that throughout the centuries used to play different games, with whoever winning basically being able to have whatever they want. And the Rat King in this interpretation of his character wants chaos. He wants nothing but chaos. And if he wins this, that's what he'll get. But again, why do this story now instead of waiting till the very end? Like when the comic's going to come to an end. And again, like I said, I think we're heading for a reset. I just get this feeling when I hear a title like the Armageddon game. Being someone that reads comics for a while, for a lifetime, I should say. Someone that reads comics for a while, for a lifetime. When I see titles like this being utilized, it usually means something's going to happen. Something big. Something huge. You know, when Sonic did the Genesis Wave deal, yeah, the first Genesis Wave was to, in storyline was to try to reset the world in Eggman's image, but also play tribute and homage to the Sonic 1, 2 games on the Sega Genesis. That's fine. But when they did the other Genesis Wave, which led us into the first crossover, and then the other one as well, that was all done to basically reset the world due to legal issues. Pretty much. Now, the other Genesis Wave that came after that, not a big deal because, hey, they just wanted to do another crossover, and they also kind of tied it in to what was going on in the main stories of each book, so I'll give them that. But the point that I'm getting at, anytime, I see something like the Genesis Wave, the way it's, not the Genesis Wave, but anytime I see a story, it's built up the way it is, and all that, and presented the way it is, that usually is indications of change is going to happen. With DC and Marvel to an extent, we saw it. They had certain event comics that kind of reset the world. They kind of reset the character status. They, change things up to be different. To kind of give like a new, like a new fresh coat of paint, but it didn't really need it, kind of deal. In other words, like a second chance at life. That's what it is, a second chance at life. So when I look at something like the title of the Armageddon game, that to me is code, in my opinion, code word for reset. What kind of reset? We don't know. We don't know what kind of reset. But apparently, there was an image floating around, and Old Turtledon showed this image as well, of what looks like to be the future of TMNT. Like the future of the characters. Like where they're going to be. And in this image you had Elplex, you had Jenica, you had the new Venus. You had all the characters. Along with the Turtles. And all that. And I don't know if that was because of Last Ronin. I think that might have been for Last Ronin or something. But still, you had that image floating around. And right now, what it looks like to me is we've gotten to a point where pretty much the writers, Kevin Eastman and all of them, have done everything they could with the IDW series. They have. Now we're seeing spin-offs of The Last Ronin, we're seeing this, we're seeing that. So it makes me really curious if the Armageddon game is indeed going to be what I feel and believe it could be. And that's a reset. What kind of a reset? We don't know. We do not know. Because we don't know what role Shredder or Rokusaki is going to play in it. Because there is a cover with him in the center. It's kind of like one of those connecting covers where it's like you get a cover from Armageddon game and you have to connect it back to back with a cover of the main book. And he's right in the center. So we don't know if he's going to have an involvement. We don't know. We don't know how, we don't know how big the impact of this Armageddon plot, is going to be, courtesy of the Rat King. Like, what is he going to do? How far is he going to go? What will be affected? But again, just reading this title here, to me, it gives off the vibes. It gives off the vibes that we're going to get a reset. I don't know what kind of a reset, like I said, but it's going to be a reset to where, you might still have things as they should be, or as they currently are, like you still have Jenica on the team, you have Elplex back on the team, but it'll be back somewhat to a status quo to, there could be a good chance that Splinter gets resurrected. And if he is, Shredder could go back to being a bad guy. Maybe that's what happens. We don't know. But when you have people at the Old Turtledon coming out and saying that this is a story arc that's been building up for months and years, throughout the throughout the existence of the comic itself, that does give off the vibes that we're going to get a reset. Now, like I said, I might be wrong, and this just might be something that really changes the status quo once again, of the IDW book. But I don't think so. I mean, you got all these different elements coming into play, and it just feels like they're getting ready to reset. It's like they're getting ready to reset. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of reset to where you start all over again and you get a new #1 issue. No. I'm talking a reset that's kind of similar to what some comics like the Archie Sonic did back when they had to do the soft retcon and reboot. And that's basically, the issues continuing as if nothing really happened, but you do notice subtle changes, if not major changes, within the story and the continuity because of this said event. But we won't know, exactly whether or not that's the case until next March. Now, I know some people might be watching this and saying, there ain't no way they can do that. This is too popular, with the fans. The fans like what they see. And that is indeed true. I'm not denying that. But to me, being a longtime fan of comics and being a longtime TMNT fan and having seen, like I said, these kind of titles for, events and all that, be showcased before and highlighted before, I feel that this is leading to something of a reset. I really do. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. If I'm right, I'm right. If I'm half right and half wrong, so be it. But it gives off those vibes. But maybe that's just me. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts overall, on the upcoming Armageddon game that officially begins this month, with the first issue and all that? What are your thoughts on it, at this time? What are your thoughts on the prequels that came out? How long do you think Eloplex will be gone? Again, like I said in a previous video, I think it's just very predictable that she'll be back sooner rather than later, much sooner than you can think. But what are your thoughts overall? Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video. Super thanks are open after the premiere. Super chats, super stickers during the live stream. Also check me out at VENMO at BW Roses for content you can't get anywhere else except there. Also check me out at VENMO at Brian-Warmer-2 and at Cash App at BW Roses98 to help support me immediately in that area. As well as check me out at BW Roses Discussions, all your favorite audio podcast locations except for Pandora. And also check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses with a $1 or $3 tier. Also check out the Teespring store as well. But let me know what your thoughts are, guys. How do you feel about this Armageddon game? Do you get the same sense of feeling that I do, that this could lead to a reset? And again, how long do you think Eloplex will be out? Do you agree that she won't be out that much longer? What are your thoughts? Let me know down below and in the live chat. And until next time, guys, I am out.